Welcome to Taiwan Report News Brief, news and analysis from Taiwan. I'm Donovan Smith. Up on the show, we have hints at what happened in Haiti. Taichung's spat over a power plant turns both ugly and very absurd. KMT's Chiang shows some of his colors. And back of the show, silliness, we've got what a TV sports channel and how they cope with the NBA canceling the season. And when is it exactly a good time to jump in a canal? But up first, lots of coronavirus news. Here in Focus Taiwan, we have Taiwan adds 10 new imported COVID-19 cases, bringing total to 77. Now, this is good news because all these new cases, and including the last batch of 8, were all people who have returned to Taiwan from overseas trips. These are not local outbreaks, so that's very good news. All right, this is probably the big headline of the day. Taiwan to bar entry of foreign nationals to combat COVID-19. Taiwan will bar all foreign nationals from entering Taiwan starting Thursday, with some exceptions as it intensifies efforts to contain the spread of the new coronavirus disease, the Central Epidemic Command Center said Wednesday. Health Minister Chen Shizhong, who serves as the CECC head, announced the new restrictions at a news conference, saying it was necessary after seeing a spike in confirmed cases among Taiwanese who had traveled abroad recently. Foreign Minister Joseph Wu said some foreign nationals will not be subject to the ban. Foreign nationals who hold alien resident certificates or documents proving they are in Taiwan for diplomatic or other official purposes or to fulfill business contracts, as well as those who have received special permits, can enter the country. The restrictions on entry into Taiwan for foreign nationals will be subject to change on CECC directives. Continuing on in Focus Taiwan, all of Asia, Europe covered by Taiwan's highest travel warning. So pretty much most of the planet now is covered. Also, 3 states in the United States are also covered with a level 3 travel alert. Moving to the Taipei Times, virus outbreak, Ministry of Labor unveils migrant worker measures. The Ministry of Labor yesterday introduced 2 new disease prevention measures governing migrant workers in cooperation with the CECC to combat COVID-19 pandemic. To minimize cross-border exchanges of personnel, the ministry called on employers to hire migrant workers who are already in Taiwan and not seek new ones from overseas. About 100,000 migrant workers change employers in Taiwan each year, providing an ample supply of personnel, he said, adding that most are from Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, and the Philippines. The ministry is to give a 3-month extension to migrant workers whose permits are expiring, Lin said, adding that migrant workers at factories can remain in the nation for up to 12 years and caregivers 14 years. Now, this is interesting because they limit how many years these workers can stay in the country, but now they're giving them potential extensions. They also normally require them to go back to their home countries and come back, all of which is expensive and a hassle for both the employers and for the employees. So some of these restrictions are now being lifted, but normally people have been calling for these to be lifted. NGOs, rights groups, on behalf of the over these employees, have been demanding a lot of these changes for quite some time. So now this shows that it can obviously be done. So the question is, why not? I'll leave that question for another day. Moving on, employers should advise migrant workers to cancel or delay any scheduled travel to their home countries, he said, adding that the ministry would use the Employment Security Fund to compensate for relevant expenses. Workers who insist on returning to their home countries would be banned from re-entering Taiwan until the epidemic has been brought under control. Employers should take responsibility for the health management of migrant workers, he added. All right, back to Focus Taiwan. Overseas travel ban on students, teachers has legal basis. Premier. Now, this is a question that I have been wondering, and I believe I mentioned it in yesterday's show. A ban on overseas travel placed on all students and teachers at the senior high school level and below is based on two laws, Premier Su said Tuesday, amid debate on whether the decision unlawfully violates people's freedom of movement. The legal basis is derived from the Communicable Disease Control Act and recently passed special act aimed at mitigating the impact of the COVID-19 coronavirus disease outbreak, Seuss told reporters. According to the Communicable Disease Control Act, competent authorities shall, quote, implement effective preventive measures to control the occurrence of communicable diseases. Well, Article 7 of the Special Act stipulates that the head of the Central Epidemic Command Center can, quote, implement the necessary measures needed to prevent and control the spread of the disease. So he goes on to say that this is necessary for epidemic prevention, called on Taiwanese people to cooperate. And now this is interesting here. In a Facebook post on late Monday, lawyer and New Power Party legislator Hsieh Lung-chieh argued that Article 7 of the Special Act was not specific enough for the cabinet to enforce such a ban. Now, the reason why I bring up this article is because freedom of movement is one of those basic human rights, like freedom of speech. And when these things are limited, the possibility of a slippery slope, once a precedent is set, is there. So when these kinds of things are enforced, even in extraordinary circumstances, people should be paying attention to them and consider what the possible ramifications are going forward. Continuing with the Taipei Times, virus outbreak. Firms can ask workers to not travel. Employers can request that their workers not leave the nation amid the COVID-19 pandemic, the Ministry of Labor said yesterday. Many businesses have in the past several days sent internal memos to staff banning international travel following reports that the nation's 54th confirmed case hid their overseas travel history from their employer, resulting in their colleagues being quarantined. Through changes to their work rules or other methods, employers can now let workers know that remaining in the nation during an epidemic is an accompanying obligation, Deputy Minister of Labor said. In addition to revising work rules and issuing announcements, it is most important for employers and employees to have a mutual understanding. International travel is a personal freedom with which companies cannot interfere, Liu said, but added that the changes when the situation involves a job or the employee's accompanying obligations. Now, in other words, what the government has done is deputized individual firms to use their own judgment and enforce their policies. Once again, referring to the slippery slope here. Freedom of movement is now been deputized, or controlling it has been deputized to individual companies and firms. Again, something to keep in mind going forward. Not saying that they will necessarily continue this, obviously, once the outbreak is over, but this kind of thing sets precedents legally, which may be used in less extreme circumstances going forward. Continuing along in the Taipei Times. All right, so we're moving to Haiti here. Political developments. Ministry of Foreign Affairs says ambassador to Haiti has returned to Taiwan, reaffirms ties. So the ambassador's name is Liu, and he was expelled from Haiti due to, quote, a small incident related to national sovereignty. The French-language news outlet Haiti24.net reported on Friday last week, quoting Haitian Minister of Foreign Affairs Claude Joseph as saying that Haitian President Jovenel Moise, I guess, is waiting for a new ambassador. Without going into details about the incident, Joseph said Taiwan-Haiti relations remain intact, the outlet reported. Liu had a quarrel with Moise and was asked to leave the country in 72 hours, the Chinese-language Apple Daily reported on Saturday. Now, further along in the article, Liu did not really leave Haiti in the 72-hour period as ordered, and diplomatic courtesy was still observed during his departure, the source said. So, they've added a little bit of detail here in the Taipei Times. Now, let's take a look at Focus Taiwan. On March 12th, Haitian newspaper Le Noveliste reported that Port-au-Prince is waiting for Taiwan to send a new ambassador to replace current Taiwanese ambassador Liu Bangzhi after a small incident. Meanwhile, local media in Taiwan reported that Liu was involved in a heated disagreement with Haitian President Moise over a bilateral project, as a result of which he was ordered to leave the country within 72 hours. So now we don't know if it's over a bilateral project, sovereignty issues. We just don't know at this point. It could be both, perhaps. We just don't know. Moving along here, this is the Director General of MOFA's Department of Latin American and Caribbean Affairs said that the incident is unrelated to diplomatic ties. Diplomatic relations between the two countries are still cordial. Well, I don't know if in Diplo speak cordial sounds as warm and, or I should say as cool as it does in normal conversation. All right, moving to the Chinese Communist mouthpiece, the Global Times. PLA warplanes conduct rare nighttime exercises near Taiwan, reports. Again, this is the mouthpiece that the Chinese Communist Party uses when they want to float trial balloons, kind of stir the pot, offend people without it being official policy, and then they put that into the People's Daily. So, it says here, the PLA nighttime drills showed that it is fully capable of launching military operations on the island at any time of a day, a military expert who asked not to be named told the Global Times on Tuesday. Similar drills are expected to become more frequent in order to let Taiwan secessionists get a clear idea of the power gap between the mainland and the island. So at this point, it's very important that Taiwanese secessionists understand that the power gap between the mainland and the island is that China now has the ability to function at night. Now, the latest exercises near Taiwan came after concentrated PLA exercises in February. On February 9th and 10th, the PLA conducted 2 consecutive drills featuring naval and air forces near the island and crossed the middle line of the Taiwan Strait in a warning to Taiwan secessionists. The island encirclement patrols used to be rare, crossing the middle line used to be rare, and consecutive drills used to be rare, but they are not rare anymore. The same could apply for the nighttime drills. So, essentially crossing the middle line and conducting these drills is basically a middle finger from the People's Liberation Army Air Force. Moving along to the Central Taiwan News update by Taichung KMT. Oh, wait, this is my ICRT report from this morning. The war between Taichung Mayor Lu Shiow-yen and the central government has turned both nasty and absurd. I went into this in some detail yesterday, so I won't move into it much, but essentially the central government and the Executive Yuan has nullified a Taichung law which would rein in coal usage at the Taichung power plant, which is owned by state-owned Taipower. Now, where this is ramped up is that, as I put here, Taichung Mayor Lu Shiow-yen accused the central government of being outrageous and simply doing whatever it wants, and called the decision unprecedented and unconstitutional, vowing to appeal to the highest court. Now, she was backed up by KMT chairman Johnny Chiang and several lawmakers. Now, she was also backed by the Taichung City KMT caucus, which, and I'm not making this up, called for a one-person, one-letter writing campaign to the World Health Organization to call on the WHO to help Taiwanese demand justice. Yes, you heard that right. The same WHO, which doesn't recognize Taiwan at all, is being called on by the Taichung City KMT caucus to fight for justice against the DPP administration on behalf of the Taiwanese people. Ironically, it was the former mayor of Taichung, Lin Jialong, under whom the original law was passed, who came out in defense of the Executive Yuan's decision. He called on Mayor Lu to stop blaming the central government for everything and anything and using the pollution issue as a political ATM machine. Now, today, after I did that report this morning, it gets further deeper as Lu Shiow-yen doubles down, calling this a brutish dictatorial act, that the vehicle of democracy is going off the rails, and that they're going against the trend, and also that this is raping public opinion. In other words, she is, as she put it, extremely seriously protesting. So that's a pretty serious uptick in language. However, Su Zhensang, who himself is known for colorful language, simply responded that there were no political calculations involved in making the decision. All right, a little bit more about the KMT under Johnny Chiang. According to an online opinion poll conducted on February 21st and 22nd by the online media outlet Formosa, only 47% of respondents believed that the successful candidate would have any bearing on the party's future. And of those with the preferred candidate, Jiang's rival for the chair, former party vice chair Hsieh Lung-chieh, who is almost 70, actually fared slightly better among those in the under 40-year-old age group. Jiang enjoyed significantly more support, over 40% for Chiang compared to less than 10% for Hsieh, in the 60 to 69-year-old age group. Now, that's quite remarkable. Their own age groups were more likely to support their opponent. Interesting. This is a Taipei Times article called Taking the KMT Back to Its Roots. It's an interesting read about younger members in the KMT and their hopes for the party going forward. All right, Johnny Chiang also, and this is in TVBS, he stated his opinion on his own identity. He said, "I am Taiwanese by birth and I was raised and born here in Taiwan. I am Taiwanese. But also from my blood and culture and history, or from that viewpoint, I'm also a Chinese person," says 中国人, as in Chinese national. And this is from the Constitution of the Republic of China. I am also a citizen of the Republic of China. All right, and the most important and serious news of the day, it is reported here in Sora News 24, Taiwanese sports channel airs anime Slam Dunk in place of canceled NBA games. An anime series in replacing the regularly programmed NBA games? Well, makes some sense, as it notes here in the article. In fact, it's probably a safe bet to say that the very existence of basketball coverage in Taiwan is at least partly thanks to the huge influence of Slam Dunk had in Asia back when it first came out in the 90s. There's actually some truth to that. And finally, when is it a good time to jump in a canal? This was Hsieh Lung-chieh, the Tainan County Councilor, or City Councilor, who made a bet with a DPP counterpart in Taichung, saying that if the DPP won more legislative seats in the last election, he would jump into the Liuchuan Canal. However, up to this point, he hasn't done so. So, why hasn't he? Well, he said he's worried people will crowd around to watch him jump in. And of course, with the current pandemic going on, that might be dangerous. He said, when the situation improves, then he'll jump in the canal. All right, that's it for today. I'd like to remind you that report.tw is right now down for a total revamp. So look forward to that change and look forward to tomorrow.
This has been brought to you by the Taiwan Report. For more content like this, become our patron at report.tw.
狗就是那个台湾狗啦，最喜欢我的台湾狗了。